What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Tuesday. Dan Kasper Show on the air on your radio dials of 105.1 FM, 790 AM, also available online. SportsTalk1051.com. You got the video stream up and rolling on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all that good stuff. Hopefully, you're all off to a fantastic start on this Tuesday morning. Big thanks for making us a part of your start on this April 18th. What do we got on the game plan here this morning? Brew Crew racking up another win late last night, 7-3 against the Seattle Mariners. Brewers improving to 12-5 on the season. Did get a little bit of a scare though last night as Corbin Burns leaving the game due to an injury. What the Brewers or Corbin Burns is describing as a minor pec strain. Corbin saying afterwards, it's something that I think is very minor that could have gotten worse if I had kept going. There hasn't been any talk of pushing back the next start or anything. So I think, again, Brewers fans, Brewers themselves, kind of holding on to their collective breaths right now, hoping that nothing serious is wrong with Corbin Burns with that strain. Hopefully, it's nothing that'll linger or actually, even get any worse at this point. But kind of crossing your fingers right now that everything will be okay. But nonetheless, Brewers 10 team hits last night. Starting off putting up a three-burger in the second inning to give Corbin Burns an early lead. And that was pretty. Seattle tacked on a run at the bottom of the second, got one back in the sixth and the eighth, but Brewers tacking on some more runs in the sixth and the seventh and the ninth there, securing the win, their 12th win of the season and first of this three-game set against the Mariners. So last night we saw Terang getting another dinger, Brian Anderson collecting some more RBIs, team leader in RBIs right now. Brian Anderson 3 for 5, 15 RBIs. So, but nonetheless, well, we're going to talk some Brewers coming up here in just a little bit. So we'll get to that coming up on the leadoff. Brewers back at it again tonight for Game 2. Colin Ray going to get his second starts of the season for the Brewers. Got to imagine if he goes out there and pitches well again, that he's going to have the job in that starting rotation until Brandon Woodruff comes back. When that might be the case, might not even be until the summer at this point. So we'll recap last night's game. Look ahead to Game 2 as well. Other stuff on the dockets here. We'll talk a little green and gold as we inch closer and closer to draft next week. It was day one of the offseason program yesterday. No, we didn't get any drama. No Aaron Rodgers. No, he didn't show up or anything like that. But I don't know the exact attendance. I don't think that was officially released. But, Packers kind of releasing some videos and photos, and you can kind of take your own attendance record, if you will. David Bakhtiari was there. So got that. Eric Stokes is coming off of a major injury, was also working out over there too. Aaron Jones, Elton Jenkins, they just got done with the tailgate tour, so they were already in town anyways. But nonetheless, well, we got that day one in the books. Josh Neiman, by the way, signing his restricted free agent tender, and that's at about $4.3 million, according to our good friend Rob Domofsky. So we'll talk a little green gold. We're going to look at the safeties today. Well, we're going to look at some safeties that potentially Green Bay may target in this upcoming draft. We know about Brian Branch, but who else is out there? Is there anybody else that Green Bay could potentially target? And was reading a little bit yesterday, kind of going through some of the experts and the analysts out there, and a lot of them feeling too that the depth in this safety class, or the depth in this safety class, is a little weak, a little low. So with that being said, how high do you want Green Bay to maybe address safety need? We were kind of talking a little bit about it yesterday in terms of defensive linemen. Like, how important is it for Green Bay to make sure they come away with a defensive lineman in this upcoming draft when you kind of look at the depth that they've got over there? So you look at safety, maybe kind of the same issue, but if the quote unquote experts are saying the depth is a little meh, how high do you kind of maybe target safety in this draft? Is 15 too high for a guy like David or like Mr. Branch from Alabama? Is he a little too high? Do you wait and go into the day 2 and try to find that safety? So we'll take a look at a few guys, kind of give you a little bit of a background on all of them. Hoops wise, nothing earth shattering, news breaking about Giannis. No real big updates or anything like that, other than his MRI was clean. So we knew the other day his X-ray was good, MRI was clean. Bucks are optimistic about his status. They are, we'll kind of a wait and see approach, but Budenholzer saying he's still sore, but I think it's progress. He's getting some treatment, and we'll just continue to monitor him for the next day or two. So Bucks not in action tonight, back in action tomorrow night. Budenholzer also saying, I think still mostly positive, mostly optimistic, but we'll see how he feels over the next day or two. Again, not a big surprise that, Budenholzer kind of being coy with everything. And I mean, that's kind of how he is with, with injury designations and such. But last night we did have a couple games in the NBA playoffs. Philadelphia taking a 2-0 lead over Brooklyn. Sacramento, even though they're the higher seed, but maybe surprising some people, continuing to surprise some people this season, taking a 2-0 lead over the defending NBA champions, Golden State Warriors. So, yeah, there you go. The games on the slate tonight for the NBA playoffs. You got Atlanta at Boston, New York at Cleveland, and then Clippers at Phoenix. T-Wolves and Bucks both in action tomorrow night. Stanley Cup playoffs rolling on here too. Who do you got winning the Stanley Cup playoffs? I meant to ask that yesterday, but with everything else kind of going on, give me your Stanley Cup picks. Okay, give me your Stanley Cup picks and your winners. Okay, yesterday got things going. You got the Islanders, Carolina picking up the 2-1 victory. Boston defeating Florida 3-1. If you're a Wild fan, you might have been up late last night watching the double OT thriller as the Minnesota Wild defeating the Dallas Stars 3-2, and Los Angeles, the Kings defeating Edmonton in overtime as well 4-3. Tonight we've got the Rangers taking on the Devils, Tampa Bay taking on Toronto, the Jets taking on the Vegas Golden Knights, my Seattle Kraken visiting the Colorado Avalanche too. So any hockey fans out there, give me your Stanley Cup predictions. We'll ask Coach Casey from the Chippewa Steel as they get ready for their playoffs this coming weekend, maybe his predictions as well too. But we'll catch up with Coach Casey as we usually do every Tuesday at about 8 o'clock, a little after 8 o'clock this morning. So then after that, we'll catch up on some Badger stuff with Mr. RJ Cardinal. If you're on Twitter, maybe you've seen the Luke Fickle bat signal, the last couple of days here with some new recruits coming in and such. So we'll catch up on all things Badgers with Mr. RJ, including Julius Davis looks like he's entering the transfer portal for the Badger football team. So he plans to transfer. I know RJ kind of talked about that a couple weeks ago. It's like, even though with the new coaching regime coming in, Davis on the kind of towards the bottom of the depth chart in terms of running backs, but Julius Davis did confirm that he does plan to transfer. So It's the Ches Malusi and the Braylon Allen Show at the top of the depth chart for this Badger football team. So, all Badger stuff with RJ coming up at about 8:20, 8:25 this morning. It is Tuesday, which means grind my gears Tuesday. What's grinding your gears? You can start to hit us up with a quick text at 715-830-1912. Or you can hit me up on Twitter at DANKASPER, Facebook.com/Kasper Sports, or on the video stream. Also, it is a Press Pass Tuesday, so if you could ask any question to anybody in the sports world and you know you are going to get a truthful answer, what would that be? Have a little fun with this. Let us know. And I'll get you your pop quiz Tuesday question towards the back end of this hour. So, as you can tell, we got a lot to get to here. So, let's get it rolling here. Let's talk some baseball to open up things. We got the Brewers with another W last night. Corbin Burns, I think everybody's kind of holding their breath at, hopefully it isn't anything serious. We were told they didn't think it was anything serious with Brandon Woodruff. That was wrong. Hate to be glass half empty type of approach right now, but I think we're all kind of holding our breaths here that it really won't be anything serious with Corbin Burns. But we'll recap the game from last night, the win from last night, the 12th win of this Brewer season, and look ahead to Game 2, Colin Ray's second start for the Brewers. How about that? So let's get things rolling. Quick break, and then the leadoff. We'll start things off talking some baseball. After these quick words. Begin your mornings off with a little cup of coffee from our good friends at Cabin Coffee in Altoona, River Prairie in Altoona. Doesn't matter how you take your coffee, whether you're an iced coffee, warm coffee, blended, frappe, whatever the case may be, Cabin Coffee has a selection and the flavor that you're going to be looking for. Not only do they just have coffee, but they got amazing smoothies. I just had one a couple weeks ago. Fantastic, a great food menu, especially their breakfast lineup over there too. Get the Southwest breakfast wrap with that sauce on there. Oh, the Chipotle sauce is so amazing. Or if you're looking for maybe a little bit of a lunch, the club sandwich, massive. You don't get any small portions over there at Cabin Coffee. So while you're stopping over there, grabbing your coffee maybe for this morning, or maybe you're going to head on over there for a little lunch this afternoon, tell them I said hi. So they're fantastic customer service over there too, Joe and everybody over there. So make sure you say hi that you're a listener of Sports Talk in our show this morning. All right, tell them we said hi. So. All right, let's get things rolling. G-Man already chiming in early this morning. Captain, I got the Kraken winning it all. Brewers will win 2 out of 3 in this series. What grinds my gears is this weather, because I would like to go golfing. Can't wait until next Thursday at Hy-Vee. That's right. So Thursday for the first round of the NFL draft. Going to kind of keep it low key over there. Just kind of hang out, watch some of the picks coming in with the first round of the NFL draft next Thursday over at Wahlburgers there in Hy-Vee. Maybe have a couple man cave lights on tap and such. So if you got nothing else going on that Thursday night, I'd be there for a little bit there, at least until the Packers make a selection and such. So get nothing else rolling on, stop on by, say hi for a few minutes, have a cold one, and we'll chat a little football. How about that? So again, that's going to be next Thursday at Hy-Vee there, Wahlburgers in Hy-Vee. So. Okay, let's get things going here on the leadoff this morning. Let's chat a little Brewers baseball. Brewers picking up the win last night, 7-3. Corbin Burnes picking up his second win of the season. He went 5 1/3, giving up 3 hits, 2 earned runs, a couple of walks, 3 strikeouts, and a home run on there too. But got some help from his offense right away. Offense putting up 3 in the top of the second. Brian Anderson. Adding on to his RBIs, he was 3 for 5 yesterday RBI, including a run homer as well from Mr. Terang and such. So the Brewers picking up game 1 of this 3-game series against the Mariners. However, everybody with the Brewers and Brewers fans probably holding their breath a little bit with the status of Corbin Burnes. Corbin leaving that game early yesterday to what he's calling a minor pec strain. This was Corbin after the game last night. Audio courtesy from Brewers.com. Pec strain. It's of course loading right now because why not on our classic audio system, computer system here in the studio. All right, here's Corbin from last night. All right, that's Corbin Burnes after his win last night, and talking about the pec injury. By the way, did anybody else still yell pickle when a runner gets into a pickle situation? I'm almost 37 and I still yell pickle every time I see. I don't care if it's on the TV or care, when we used to play slow pitch softball or something like that. I'm still yelling pickle every time, and that was the play that Corbin Burns was kind of highlighting when he kind of thought that the issue or the injury, whatever we're going to call it's kind of popped up there. So, he's downplaying it. He's not too concerned with it. But again, not to be glass half empty type of mindset here. You know, Woodruff kind of said the same thing with his. Counts kind of said the same thing with Woodruff's, and you know, look where we're at with that thing. So, no offense to Corbin. Let's see what the doctors and that all have to say. Kind of coming up here in the next day, a couple days, and so. But hopefully, it's nothing too bad. I think maybe the positive in this whole thing. Again, I'm not a doctor, but at least it's on the left side. He's a right-handed pitcher, so at least it's not his right pec, I get, or right side. But I don't know if that would think that'd make a little bit more of a difference there, right? I mean, if you're watching the video stream, you're probably watching me do some weird arm motions and such right now, but nonetheless, I guess maybe it's okay that it's on the, or a little bit better that it's on the left side. So rice it up, right? Rest, ice, compression, elevation. You can't elevate your pec. Heat, whatever. Listen to your trainers and doctors, and hopefully it's nothing that'll kind of be out there lingering for too long. So, but Brewers looking ahead to game 2 tonight. Just got another late one, and then we're going to get back to a little bit of a normal schedule here, okay? Brewers fans, I know, believe me, it's been a lot of late night games with this West Coast trip for Cry Eye, a lot of 8:40 starts, and this is going to be the last one for a while. At least, talking like during the week starts here. 8:40 tonight, another late one. Tomorrow afternoon, got an afternoon game at 3:10, then off day Thursday. And they start that weekend series with Boston here. But Colin Ray is going to get another start for the Brew Crew. He's going to get another start here coming off of his fine performance, solid performance just a few days ago. Obviously, there's not a ton of experience when you look at the pitching matchups versus the lineups and such. I mean, actually, with the Mariners, you got a couple of guys here that have faced Ray for a couple times. Colton Wong, again, it's the NL Central connection. When he was with the Cardinals and such, but he's got 5 at bats. That's clearly the most, and he's hitting 200. Same on the flip side here with Gilbert getting a start for the Mariners. Logan Gilbert, not a ton. I mean, you're looking at just a couple of guys. Brian Anderson's got a couple at bats. Does have a dinger against him. Voigt's got 4 at bats and he's hitting 250 against him. But you look at Logan Voigt last year, 13-6 for the Mariners with a 3.20 ERA in 32 games started. Pitched in 185, almost 186 innings. And so far this year, he's 1-1 with a 2.70 ERA in 3 games. He's in those 3 games, he's pitched 16 2/3 innings there. He's coming off of his latest outing back on April 12th, where he picked up the win against the Cubbies, where he went 6 2/3, 4 hits, 1 earned run, did strike out 7. Did strike out 7 on there. So, again, this is one of the younger prospects from the Mariners system. Younger, talented pitchers, I would say, out there. So, be interesting to see how this Brewers offense goes up against Logan Gilbert tonight. And then Colin Ray, this is an opportunity for him. He's not no young spring chicken. I mean, he's younger than me. He's 32 years old. He's younger than probably a lot of us right now. But in terms of baseball and such, and minor leagues, AAA, he doesn't have a ton of experience coming up throughout his career, and it's been derailed by injuries and such. But doesn't have a ton of experience in the show. But this is an opportunity for him to go out there, put together another solid performance, and kind of probably hold on to that starting job until Brandon Woodruff comes back. I mean, I think the Brewers are just kind of be like, all right, kind of a wait and see approach, kind of game by game when it comes to Colin Ray. See what they got with him, see how well he's performing. I know Adrian Hauser is going to be, coming back soon. Or could they maybe put him in that starting rotation if Ray doesn't kind of, run away with it or solidify that? Or do they still want to stick with Adrian Hauser as a bullpen type of option pitcher here? But we'll see what Ray can do in his second start of the season. Go back to his first start. It was against the Padres on the 13th, that first game of that 4-game series where it went 5 2/3, only gave up 2 hits, 1 earned run, and struck out 6. Only issued 1 walk in that game too. So I'm excited to see what Colin Ray can do. If he goes out there and puts together another solid performance against the Mariners tonight, then I think he's going to be the guy that's going to be filling in for Woody here for the next couple of months, and hopefully he can take advantage of that, and hopefully he can, go out there, pitch extremely well. All obviously from a fan standpoint, being selfish there a little bit because you want your Brewers to continue to rack up the W's and win series and that's, but also just the story of Colin Ray too. If you're not too familiar with it, kind of look it up. Like we said, not a ton of experience in the show in the big leagues. You got to go back to, maybe 2016 with Colin Ray, where that's where he got the majority of his playing time. Spent some time with the Padres, where he was 5-5, racked up 99 innings, then gets shipped off to Miami. But then injuries, didn't make another appearance until 2020 with the Cubbies. Pitched in 9 games, started 2 of those. 2021, a game with the Brewers, and then this year 2023. So it'd be kind of a cool story if he can go out there and pitch extremely well and maybe kind of help fill the void left by Brandon Woodruff. And then when Woodruff comes back, it'll be a good discussion or a good problem to have. How do you maybe kind of, keep a guy like Colin Ray with your big league club? Looking again back at last night, I want to kind of highlight a couple of players. By the way, too, Jesse Wickert sounds like he's going to be back in the lineup tonight, according to Craig Counsell. He had a pregame workout yesterday. He's been missing some time due to what they're calling an oblique injury, but it sounds like it went well yesterday, and that we could potentially see him back in the starting lineup, or in the batting lineup tonight for the Brewers. So, but I know we kind of talked a little bit about Winker yesterday and his offensive performance so far this season and such. But William Contreras, when you're looking at him, and maybe at the beginning part of the season, a little bit of a slow start, but ever since then, this guy has been showcasing, why a lot of people were pumped up, or why a lot of people thought the Brewers got a really good catcher in that trade back in the offseason. Obviously, he was an all-star last year, mostly known for his offense and such. But you look at William Contreras right now, and last night collected another hit and such. But you look at his last 26 at bats, 9 hits, 4 walks, an average of 346, slugging of 423, and on-base percentage of 433 so far this season. And Contreras doesn't have a home run either. Him and Winker. They're still on the schneid. They're on the 0 right now in terms of the home run department. But he's getting on base. So far this year, he's hitting 313, on-base percentage of a 400, an OPS of a 754. I know the numbers are incredibly small at this point, but, his average, higher than his career average. His on-base percentage, higher than his career right now. But William Contreras showing right now in the early parts of the season why there was a lot of excitement bringing him in to Milwaukee. He displayed his offense during his time in Atlanta. There were some questions about maybe his framing and defense, but again, Milwaukee seems to have done like a good job over the years of bringing in these catchers that have, kind of had this tag on them that maybe not the best framers or maybe not the best defensive catchers out there, but they come in and they build these guys up and they improve dramatically in that department. So, William Contreras off to a good start for the Brewers. Brian Anderson, again, I know this was a guy that a lot of you listeners right now were saying, I think that could be a quiet pick. I think that could be a sneaky good signing by the Brewers. And right now, for all of you who call that shot, pat yourself on the back right now. Give yourself a thumbs up. Last night, collecting 3 hits, another RBI, team leading 15 RBIs. So far this year, hitting .298. He's got an OPS of an .882. 3 dingers right now. And he's displayed the versatility that the Brewers have needed since, Luis Urias going down with injury at third base there. I mean, it's practically split. He's played 10 games at third and 8 games in right field. So not only is he providing that versatility in the field defensively, but guys getting it done at the plate too for the Brewers. So I just kind of wanted to highlight a couple of those players, Anderson and William Contreras and such, because, Contreras obviously was a guy that, once that trade was made, a lot of fans and a lot of MLB people, Major League Baseball analysts and that stuff were like, oh, that's a good move by the Brewers. And so far, it's paying some dividends. And then, of course, Brian Anderson, because a lot of you thought that could have been could be a sneaky signing, a sneaky move, and you guys are nailing it right now. Team leader in RBIs, heck yeah. And I'll be excited to see Jesse Winker back in the lineup here too. Again, this was a guy that, mostly is going to be in the DH role. A lot of people curious to see if he could kind of bounce back and get back to what he was with his Reds days. And in 30 at-bats so far this year, he's hitting 300. He's got an OPS of a 789, on base of a 389. 9 RBIs. No home runs yet. But hopefully we'll see him back in the lineup and maybe provide even more offense. Looking at some of these statistics, I was looking at them earlier this morning, kind of looking at, offensive numbers, team stats. And Brewers are mostly top 10, maybe right around top 5 for a lot of offensive statistics, team-wise, if we're looking at it. Home runs, it doesn't seem like the Brewers are maybe hitting a ton of home runs, this year. But when you kind of look at it and compare it to the rest of Major League Baseball, they're tied for 8th. They've got 21. Now Tampa Bay is kind of running away with it right now with 37 home runs. Then you've got the Dodgers at 30, Yankees at 26, Giants at 25, and Atlanta 24. That's your top 5. And the Brewers are sitting there at 21. So I feel like it's almost a kind of a quiet 21 when it comes to the Brewers. And maybe it's because we've seen the Brewers scoring runs in different ways, though, too, where it's not so dependent on the long ball, so dependent on the home run ball, that we're kind of like not so hyper-focused on the home run ball. You know what I mean? Like, because it feels like that Brewers aren't hitting a lot of home runs at times. At least it is for me, maybe. But yet, they're tied for 8th. And I think it's because, well, Sunday, they win because of small ball. So they're doing it a little bit of different ways. And then you look at, OPS, Brewers, 7th, tied for 7th. Slugging percentage, Brewers just outside the top 10. They're at 12 right now. On base percentage, 6th. Team average, 7th. How about stolen bases? Brewers, 9th. And that was one thing that I know a lot of you, and I think a lot of us were kind of talking about, banning of the shift, younger lineup, a lot of speed within this lineup. Could we see the Brewers maybe a little bit more active on the base paths, maybe being a little bit more aggressive? And these numbers are Major League Baseball, not just National League. But the Guardians lead the league in stolen bases 25, Baltimore 24. Brewers 9th with 14 right now. If you're looking at strikeouts, Brewers are striking out quite a bit yet at the plate. They've got the 6th most strikeouts at the plate. The only teams higher than them right now are the Giants, the Dodgers, the Royals, the Braves, and the Mariners. So, RBIs, they're tied for 7th at 83. Tampa Bay leading the way at 113, which, again, no big surprise. But we talk about the Brewers and their surprise with their offense. I don't want to kind of ignore what the Twins are doing, pitching-wise too, because, Brewers offense, that was one of the biggest question marks, obviously, heading into the season, one of the biggest unknowns and probably the biggest unknown for a lot of people out there. Their offense has been off to a good start. Same thing for the Twins, but on the pitching side of things. And when you look at across Major League Baseball, the team with the best ERA, it's the Twins, 2.60. And that was a big concern for a lot of people. Do the Twins have any pitching? Do they have enough pitching? They got any depth there? They're off to a fantastic start. By the way, Brewers, 3rd in ERA. 3rd in ERA. Twins, opponent's batting average, number 1, 195. Brewers, 4th, by the way, 222. But this Twins pitching staff, you got to give them credit. Got to give them credit. We're off to a really good start. Really good start. Oh, and they're number 1. Twins are number 1 in walks issued. 36. They've given up the fewest walks. 36. That's pretty impressive. Shout out to the Twins and that pitching staff over there. So it's kind of cool to see, the team to our west, not far to our west, is actually closer to us than the Brewers. But team to the west, surpassing expectations, at least initially in the first few weeks of the season, with their biggest question mark, which was pitching. Brewers kind of doing the same thing with their offense, surpassing expectations, or kind of what people thought how the offense would look. And I guess you got to give a little bit of credit maybe to some of the national peeps out there who were saying, hey, last year Brewers offense may not have been as bad as people kind of imagine. And, with the preseason expectations, predictions, I should say, for the Brewers from a lot of the national analysts out there, like, maybe the Brewers offense, I think the Brewers offense is going to be a little bit better than what people are expecting. And, well, first wave coming through here. Yeah, not bad. Not bad. By the way, I was looking at the teams to give up the fewest home runs pitching staff wise. Brewers tied for 10th fewest, 17. Again, weird. Tampa Bay, number 1 with the fewest, 8. Atlanta there too. So, all right. Tell you what, let's take a quick break and then let's finish up the first hour. We'll talk a little NBA playoffs. We'll get you a Giannis update on his back injury. Had a couple games last night. Stanley Cup playoffs. All right, Stanley Cup playoffs. They got started last night too. Minnesota Wild. Maybe if you're a Wild fan, you were up late last night watching that game. But give me your picks for the Stanley Cup playoffs. I meant to get to that yesterday. Fell between the cracks. So who are your picks for the Stanley Cup playoffs? Let me know, okay? Hit me up with a quick text, 715-830-1912. So we'll take that quick break and be back in just a couple minutes to finish up this first hour. Hey, we've kind of revamped our outdoors page on our website at sportstalk1051.com, and we are going to be adding some pro staff members. But the kicker is the pro staff members are you, the listeners. So thank you to, the way, first of all, the way to get into the pro staff members, all you got to do is submit a photo catching fish, maybe getting your turkey, maybe camping, hiking, or whatever have you. But you, the listeners, and those who submit photos, you're going to be members of the pro staff up there. So check it out. Kind of our new page. We're updating it here a little bit, and don't forget to submit your photos. Big thanks to some of you who have already submitted some photos from the turkey hunting season for the youth one this past weekend. So we got those up there. But check it all out again, sportstalk1051.com. Click on that outdoors page, and don't forget to submit your photos to the Tilden Gun Gallery, Trophy Gallery over there. So a lot of good pictures up there, and keep those coming. All right, keep them on coming. All right, don't forget to, as we mentioned, somebody just asked, our draft party, when is it again? Okay, so Thursday at Wahlburgers over there at Hy-Vee. Just very casual. We'll have a couple man cave lights, watch a little bit of the draft if you got some time. I'll probably stick around till right after the Packers pick and such. But yeah, let's get together for a couple cold ones and watch a little bit of the draft next Thursday at Wahlburgers right before it kicks off. So hopefully we'll see you all there. Surveyor. DK, you know what grinds my gears? People who don't clean off the cars after a snowfall. First off, it's completely illegal. I know what you're thinking. I'll just let the wind blow it off my car. Well, you could cause an accident, break a windshield, or hit someone, like me walking with your snow. 2, not clearing off your windshield except for the driver's side doesn't count as a clear windshield. How can you even see? 3, I feel that if you don't clear off your car, you should have to stand there while people peg you with snowballs until everyone feels satisfied. Jeez. So just do everyone a favor. Get up an extra 5 minutes and wipe off the dang snow. There you go. Can always count on Surveyor for a grind my gears Tuesday, right? Can always count on that. So he also says, I know absolutely zero about the NHL, but I would bet G-Man's 401k on the team that set the record for the most wins in NHL history, the Bruins. My pick, actually, I am going to go for the Stanley Cup. And I know they lost last night, but this is who I was going to pick anyways. I got Edmonton coming out of the West, and I'll go Boston, and I think Boston will win it too. I know everybody's like, well, they're not going to, how many times is that team in the NHL with the most wins, and when it gets to the playoffs, it's completely different, and, they kind of fall flat on their faces and that, but I think it'll be different this year. I'm going Boston, Edmonton. I'd like to say my Kraken, but I'm trying to be a little bit real here. So, hey, I'm going to get you the pop quiz trivia question here really quick. Since we're going to be talking a little safeties in this upcoming draft for the Packers and such, your pop quiz trivia question, give me the last 3, not last 1, not last 2, last 3 Packers safeties to make a Pro Bowl game. Don't look it up, okay? Don't look it up. Just try your best. Have a little fun with this. You don't get extra credit points or anything like that. But the last 3 Packers safeties to make a Pro Bowl, who were they? Text me your answers, 715-830-1912. Get you the answer coming up just past 7 o'clock. Really quick, some hoops chats. We know last night, Philadelphia beat Brooklyn to take a 2-0 lead in their series. Sacramento getting another W against Golden State. They have a 2-0 lead as well. Bucks-wise, the Bucks, quick update on Giannis yesterday. Mike Budenholzer, head coach Mike Budenholzer, saying he's still sore, but I think progress. He's getting some treatment, and we will just continue to monitor him for the next day or 2. I think still mostly positive, mostly optimistic, but we'll see how he feels over the next day or 2. Giannis, by the way, we know after the game he went through an x-ray. That came back all good. MRIs came back clean as well. So we'll see, probably just more of a issue of how sore he is and that sort of thing. So that's your Giannis update. Again, reminder, Bucks are back in action tomorrow night. Game 2 against the Heat. You'll be able to catch that game on the radio dials here after the Brewers game tomorrow. Morning, Morbs.
Was it a back thing, Giannis?
Yeah, he fell.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
He fell on his tailbone.
Ugh,
so
ouch.
yeah.
Yeah. We're good that he's not out for the long haul, at least. Sounds like it anyway.
Exactly.
So did you know that the Wisconsin Tourism Board, it was mandated at tourism centers to give free cheese away?
Mm-mm.
So people are supposed to be thinking of your Pro Bowl question here for the Packers. We'll give them a little think time. And I'm going to ask you some cheese questions. But so it turns out state tourism officials are supposed to give away cheese at all Wisconsin tourist information centers. But right now they're looking to end that. They're talking about it at the Capitol, which is why we're talking about it. The state no longer operates those centers. So they kind of want to pitch this proposal in that would say, hey, we don't give away free cheese anymore, which I didn't even know was a thing that we did.
Yeah.
So they're tackling that today. But I have a pop quiz for you on cheese. How well do you think you know your cheese facts? Like,
not well.
Are you a cheese guy?
I love cheese.
Okay.
I eat cheese every day.
What's your favorite cheese? Representing Wisconsin, you're the one that says this is the cheese to rule us all.
Okay, so I got to pick a Wisconsin one, or can I just pick my favorite? I mean,
Pick your
because if I don't pick Colby, my in-laws
Everybody
are going
wants
to kill me.
Colby.
So.
That's actually one of the things that has been up for debate for a long time, is making that the official cheese. But I'm talking personal favorite cheese.
My personal favorite, so I got two. I want a good pepper jack cheese, not a cheap pepper jack cheese. We all know the difference between a good and a cheap one.
For sure.
A good salami cheese.
Oh yeah, so you're putting things in your cheese.
And it's got to be around hunting season. Onion cheese.
Really?
Onion cheese on grandma's meatloaf sandwich. Take it to the deer stand.
Nice. And that's what you do. That's the good luck sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
Good thing. Because you don't have to talk
Those
or kiss anybody after that.
It's not. Yeah, it's not. It's like a green onion.
Okay.
So
So you have spoken. You like cheese with a little punch. So we have a little bit of a pop quiz here. If you have cheese facts, then this is your quiz for you. First of all, we're going to talk about grilled cheese. Where would you say you fall on the grilled cheese spectrum? Can you make a monster grilled cheese?
I can't, but Veronica can.
Okay. What's the trick? I'll tell you my trick. There's a trick.
Well, I have no idea what her trick is.
Mayo.
Oh, no, she doesn't
not
do
butter.
That. No, I've heard that before. I've heard people put mayo on there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, first of all, the grilled cheese didn't start out as a sandwich. Little early history lesson during World War II. It was just a piece of bread with a slice of cheese on top. We added the other piece of bread to fancy it up a little bit. That's when it became a sandwich. What decade would that be? Take a guess. When do you think we started inventing the grilled cheese as a sandwich?
Grilled cheese as a sandwich. What decade? 1910s.
Nope. 60s.
1960s?
It was a late arrival.
It's still young then.
But as long as you're hanging out in the early part of the 1900s, we'll go back there. So it wasn't always called the grilled cheese. From about 1920 to 1970, there was a different name. What would you call it? Not a grilled cheese. Different name for the sandwich. You're sitting down at a restaurant. You got your bib adjusted. You're going to order. Excuse me, maitre d'. May I please have a
melted cheese sandwich?
Cheese dream.
Okay.
I know. That sounds like something you can't say on the radio.
I was going to say, or that sounds like a cheese whiz can or something like that.
Okay, last question. Highest price for a Sammy. This was an eBay thing. Somebody said they saw the Virgin Mary in their grilled cheese sandwich. How much?
It's got to be like $10,000.
It's G-Man's 401k, I think. No, 28 grand. That's what it sold for.
Thanks, Mark.
Hey, thank you.
All right, second hour kicking off right now. Happy Tuesday. Happy Grind My Gears Tuesday, everybody. Appreciate you tuning in, however, wherever you may be checking in from here this morning. Coming up, we're going to talk some safeties with the Green Bay Packers. Could the Packers maybe target a safety with one of their early picks? Is 15 too high, too early to get one of these safeties? If you read some of the draft analysts and all that fun stuff out there, well, a lot of them say this is a weak class when it comes to safeties. So if we use that as kind of that barometer or that gauge, if you will, how high should Green Bay try to look to grab one of these safeties? I think we would all agree they probably need a little bit more depth over there. Especially, I mean, maybe they bring back Adrian Amos. I don't know. Maybe they do at some point, but nonetheless, right now it kind of looks a little thin. So with that, we asked as part of our Pop Quiz Tuesday, give me the last three Packers that were Pro Bowl safeties. One person got it right. Big Worm, congratulations, man. You're the one that got it. Big Worm says, I can't remember anyone past Nick Collins except Darren Sharper. So, Darren Sharper, Nick Collins, Clinton Dix. You're right. You're absolutely right. Clinton Dix in 2016 was the latest or the last Pro Bowl safety. Nick Collins made it a couple times on there. And then, yeah, Darren Sharper. Charles Woodson made it as a corner for Green Bay. So, but congrats, Big Worm. You got it. Man, Nick Collins. What if? That dude was on a Hall of Fame path. He was on a Hall of Fame path. Feel awful for that guy. But yeah, he was, man. Nick Collins, I feel bad for that guy. He was such a stud. But there you go. So we'll see if Green Bay's got another Pro Bowl type of Pro Bowl safety in their future. I got another one, Dave. Grind my gears. NFL draft not being Saturday and Sunday. Cool story here too. Also, grind my gears not knowing how to use my phone. Sorry about that. No worries, man. This is World War II. My dad made grilled cheese on manifolds of their vehicles. How about that? That's a cool story. Thanks for sharing that one. That's pretty cool. So, how about the rest of you? You know, with the draft coming up, you know, next week, Thursday. I know it's been Thursday. What for? It's been over 10 years now. It's got to be 12, 13, whatever. I know it's at least over 10 years. But do you like the fact that they've broken it up? So first round's Thursday, primetime event. It ain't getting changed. We all know that. The NFL ain't going to change it. But do you like the fact that they've broken it up amongst 3 days? Would you rather see it the Saturday, Sunday? I'll be honest. I'm good with no Sunday draft. You know, I'm good with that. Kind of like a little bit of a breather sort of thing. Saturday got really long, but I get it where people, you know, they don't want to stay up late on a work night or anything like that. And but what do you think? Are you mostly? Would you like to see it if you could? You know, wave your magic wand or something like that. Maybe this might be a sports vigilante thing for tomorrow. I don't know. But do you like how the draft is constructed Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or would you like it to go back to a Saturday, Sunday? Or do they need to do just Friday, Saturday? Although Friday might get a little long there too, long in the tooth. But does it matter at that point? It's the NFL. They can do whatever the heck they want and probably get away with it. Okay, before we get to some safety prospects here coming up in the draft, let's do some sports nuggets of the day brought to you by Ansay Associates. 1923 Yankee Stadium opened in the Bronx. Yankees beat the Boston Red Sox 4-1. What do we got else? 1938 U.S. President Roosevelt threw out the first ball, preceding the season opener between. I like how they phrase that, preceding the season opener between the Washington Senators and the Philadelphia Athletics. Ed Rommel, 1956, became the first umpire to wear glasses during a Major League Baseball game. This game was between the Yankees and the Washington Senators. 1962, Bill Russell scored 30 points and 40 rebounds. Good Lord, 40 rebounds in a win over the Lakers. It was the fourth straight NBA title for the Celtics. 4 years later, 1966, Bill Russell became the first player coach for the Boston Celtics. 1977, Eddie Murray hit his first career home run. What else do we got here? Mike Schmidt, 1987, hit his 500th career home run. Joe Montana, on this day in 1995, retired from the NFL. Maybe a little bit later than some people thought. 1999, 4 years later, Wayne Gretzky played his final game in the NHL. During the game, Gretzky got his 2,857th NHL point. He retired as the NHL's all-time leading scorer and holder of 61 individual records. 2005, it was announced that the NFL's Monday Night Football would leave ABC in 2006 for a new home with ESPN. Monday Night Football had been with ABC since 1970. So those are just some of your sports nuggets of the day. Again, brought to you by Yancey Associates. All right, so let's continue kind of our little preview series leading up to the first round of the NFL draft, kind of highlighting some prospects that potentially could be Packer selection, whether it's with the 15th overall pick or maybe a day 2 pick. We've gone through some offensive linemen. We've gone through some edge rushers, defensive linemen yesterday. And we went through tight ends already. So let's take a look at safeties here. And the thing is too with safeties, I know there's a couple of corners, like for instance, here's the perfect example of kind of like, well, some corners might transition better into a safety. Brian Branch is one of those. Like if you look him up, he's listed as a corner on some sites, on some stuff out there, but I think a lot of people are just like, okay, he's going to be a safety. But let's start off with Brian Branch at this point. He is was a top 5 safety prospect coming out of high school. Played a lot of time. He's kind of that versatile defensive back. Let's just call him defensive back, okay? Let's call these guys that can play maybe a little slot corner, line up on the outside, but also play deep in the middle, play a little center field, play in the box. So let's call these guys defensive backs. But when you're looking at mock drafts, he's probably, again, the highest selected defensive back, aka safety, in this draft. He's a guy that can obviously do a lot of playmaking ability. He can cover the slots. He can play that center field role. Just a very versatile, smart type of player that a lot of people would obviously love to have on their defense. He's got the physical traits. He's 6 foot, about $190 in weight. So he's the number one guy, number one prospect, defensive back, safety prospect that are on a lot of boards, mock drafts, whatever have you. So the thing is, depending on which mock drafts that you're kind of looking at, or depending on, some of the stuff that you had been reading out there, is 15 too high to draft a guy like Brian Branch? Is that too high? A lot of mock drafts maybe have him towards the back end of the first round, maybe in the mid to late 20s. So is 15 just maybe a little too high for you? Or, I was thinking about this last night. How many times it's like an annual tradition when it comes to the draft, when you hear these general managers or coaches or whatever the heck, they're like, yeah, we don't draft for need. We draft best available. Which, okay, like 80% of the time, maybe even higher. That's not true. It's a little bit of both. Like, you're not necessarily. So, like Philadelphia, for instance, they just signed Jalen Hurts to that massive contract yesterday. They're not going to draft a quarterback if that's the best available on their draft board with their first pick, right? They're not going to do that. So, all these teams that say, well, we just draft best available, that's not the case all the time. But when it comes to maybe a team like Green Bay sitting at 15, are they in that position of drafting best available? because we're focusing, or we're highlighting all these different positions and players. I mean, we've talked tight ends, we've talked offensive linemen, we've talked defensive linemen, we've talked edge rushers. We're talking, safeties now. Tomorrow we might be doing wide receivers. And then that's another position group that right now, and maybe again it's a little smokescreen action. You got to take everything with a little bit of a grain of salt with leading up into the draft here. But I think it was at Peter King, or there was another column where there's a lot of teams that don't even have a first round grade on a wide receiver, and if it's one, it's just the kid from Ohio State. And yeah, it was in Peter King's column yesterday. There's a lot of concern about his injury, his health history, hamstring wise. Raise your hand, Packers fans, if you're getting tired of hearing hamstring injuries when it comes to a Packers player, for crying out loud. So, I mean, again, is 15 too high for a wide receiver for this group? We'll hit that up tomorrow. But going back to the question, I was kind of like going through my head yesterday. I was like, is Green Bay one of those teams that's like, yeah, they're in a position of best available? And I think, yeah. I mean, that's where I keep going. Like, I haven't done my mock or anything like that, but it's like I could see go defensive line. I could see offensive line, tight end, yeah, safety, yeah. There's a lot of guys that could go a few different positions in this thing. So, but back to the safeties. Brian Branch, even though he's listed as corner for some people or defensive back, a lot of teams are probably going to utilize him as a safety, a versatile playmaking safety that you can move all around the field. I mean, I would love a guy like that with this Packers defense, a guy that you could put in that star position, a guy that you could, line up against the, slot receiver and such, play a little safety back or play a little center field in the back end. So who are some of the other safeties out there? Again, if you kind of look at, or if you've been reading mock drafts or reading the quote unquote experts out there, scouts and that sort of thing, let's take a look at some of these guys and probably maybe early day 2 picks for these guys. First up, Antonio Johnson from Texas A&M. 6'2", almost about 200 pounds, big, athletic. He does have the versatility to cover a slot receiver, to cover a wide receiver. He can stay inside the box, good at run support as well. Physical, isn't afraid to go up into the line of scrimmage. Probably needs a little bit more consistency within the tackling. Does, with that aggressiveness and that physicality, maybe gets a little too aggressive and misses some of those tackles, over pursuing just a little bit too much. Maybe best suited playing that in the box type of safety, helping out and run support and such. But again, Green Bay's defense, what do they probably want to really improve? Run defense. So maybe he's best suited to play a little bit of that big nickel. We've heard that the last few years, right? When it comes to defenses, big nickel corner, maybe lining up against some tight ends and such. He's got the physical traits, lining up at 6'2", 200 pounds. If they want to go a little bit smaller in their safety, but a guy that, again, has a little versatility, maybe plays a little bit more of that center field role. Badgers fans, you probably saw him a little bit, though. Brown, kid from Penn State. Just an inch under 6 foot. Is about 200 pounds. Can line up over the slot. Can patrol that outfield. Maybe like a little cover one safety. The thing that might have pushed him down in terms of some people's draft boards is his speed. At the combine, he ran a 4.65, which is probably like worried a lot of people. But if you look at the next gen stats, combine wise, production score, safety wise, he ranked number 1. Total score, he ranked number 1. But the athleticism score, 12th. So, again, I think a lot's going to depend on what does Joe Barry, what does Goody or LaFleur want in their safeties? Do they want, a guy that can be a physical guy that maybe can line up against some tight ends, a bigger safety, but might get blown by a faster wide receiver, but he can help you out and run support and cover those tight ends? Or do you want more of that center fielder type of role? I look at a guy like Brown and I'm thinking, okay, maybe they already kind of have that role with Darnell Savage. LaFleur said, a couple weeks ago at the owners' meetings that they're going to stick with Savage at safety. We've heard Savage, we've heard others say that, maybe his best role is a nickel corner. Well, Savage is more of a center fielder covering that nickel corner, so maybe that takes out a guy like a Brown, and maybe you look at a safety like an Antonio Johnson, who is a bigger safety who can match up against tight ends, help out a little bit more and run support. Then you got J.L. Skinner. This is an intriguing prospect here at the safety spot. You're talking a guy who's 6'4", 200-plus pounds. And you look at some of his rankings, and it's like, no, not the greatest according to Next Gen Stats. You're talking 6'7", third overall total score isn't bad. Athleticism score 7th, production score 6. But you can't teach height. I mean, 6'4", 210 pounds. He's a guy that can play multiple coverages. You can, use him in run support. He's solid in run support. I was reading a little bit of him last night. He's got good anticipation. You got ball skills. Can read those routes from wide receivers and such. So, but 6'4", safety. It's intriguing, right? Kind of like when I'm not comparing him to Kevin King, but it's kind of similar to when Kevin King was coming out of the drafts. Ooh, a 6'3" corner that can run a 4.4 40 or whatever the heck it was. Yeah, 4.4 40. Can't teach speed, can't teach height. Well, that didn't really work out. No, that's not to mean that JL Skinner is going to be a Kevin King type of player, right? But you kind of look at those traits and it's like, okay, he's above average in run support. You got a 6'4" guy who has the versatility for a few different coverages. He's got some good awareness. It's kind of an interesting prospect there. A little bit of an interesting prospect. Another guy that has been kind of popular in like day 2, round 3 mock drafts for a lot of Packers, or for a lot of Packers picks, has been Jordan Battle from Alabama. Now 6'1", 210, kind of a typical, physical traits when it comes to those safety prospects. He's got the speed, he's got the size. 4.55, 40. Athleticism score, though, if we look at the next gen stats, not that great. I mean, you're talking 18th. His production score 5th. His combine, overall safety rank was 7. Was 7th on there. So, the big things that stand out with a guy like Jordan Battle, he's physical. He's got the mental makeup to play safety in the league. Maybe not the greatest in terms of run support, but he has the versatility to cover a slot receiver. And I'm sure a lot of people will look at, the pedigree, Alabama, right? Coming out of Alabama, playing under Nick Saban, playing with that defense over there. And again, like Jordan Battle, his biggest weakness is probably the run support consistency, but he's got the versatility to cover. But again, when you look at the makeup of the safety group with the Packers, what kind of safety do you prioritize? Then, we've got these safeties who are 6 foot, 6'1". We got a couple safeties that we talked about, 6'4", 6'3". They're kind of all over the place. Another player that I've kind of seen is Jamie Robinson from Florida State. Smaller, 5'11", about a buck 90. Saw one player comp that a lot of Packers fans are probably not going to be too keen on was Demarius Randall. Again, he's kind of that nickel back safety. Do the Packers already have that guy? You can make the case with Darnell Savage. Another one's Anthony Johnson. More of the typical safety heights, 6'1", 6 foot, little over 200 pounds. He's a cornerback that did turn safety, so he's got the coverage skills, got the coverage experience on there. He's got the athletic traits to succeed at a safety position. Was a team captain. He's got the versatility, the physicality. But I think when it comes, we're talking about some of these guys here. When it comes to the safety prospect, or when it comes to, you know, picking a safety, I think a lot is going to have to depend on what kind of safety do they want. Do they want another Darnell Savage type in terms of physical and athletic traits? A guy who could cover, a slot corner, but maybe he's going to get out muscled, out physical by a tight end. Maybe not the greatest in run support or inconsistent in run support. Or do you want that bigger safety that can play in the box, can give you that run support, can maybe line up against these big, fast, physical tight ends, but probably going to get burned by a wide receiver or a smaller, quicker slot receiver? I guess if it were me, I'd like one of each. That's the easy answer, isn't it? I'd like my safety to provide a little versatility, but I'd also like my safety to, be able to cover a receiver, cover a tight end, and help run in run support. An all around type of tight end. All right. Tell you what, we got to take a quick break here. I've been rambling on too much. We'll take a quick break and we'll chat a little bit more green and gold coming up after these few words with Joe. Golfing season did get underway last week. I know we're in a little bit of a delay now with what happened, yesterday and Sunday and such, but we will get there. We will get there. So to help you get ready for the golf season, if you want to help improve your swing, or maybe you just need to get a little bit of an adjustment or such, well, check out Shepke Chiropractic, Dr. Logan Shepke over there. He's got some cool packages where if you kind of want to improve your golf game, he's got some packages where, obviously he'll be doing the back work and the neck work, but he also works with a PGA certified, swing trainer, golf coach, and such. Just head to his website, shepkechiropractic.com, and you can see the packages on there. I mean, it's like a title. I mean, Titleist is attached to this. Anybody who knows golf, Titleist over there. So it's a really, really cool. I mean, you've probably heard our podcast episodes or you heard the commercial over there during the break, but it's really cool to kind of learn a little bit about some of the golf packages that he has available as a chiropractor working with some of these golf coaches and swing trainers and such. So if you want to kind of help out your game, maybe you want to get, ready for the Casper Classic coming up on August 4th. If you want to win those title belts this year, well, maybe you got to get in some training with Dr. Logan Shepke here. All right. So check out his website, shepkechiropractic.com. Yes, to answer a quick text, we are still looking for a few more listeners for our live on-air listener mock draft next Thursday. So if you're interested, we're going to do that next Thursday at 8:05. If you want to participate and you want to be one of those people making a selection, just hit me up with a text or shoot me an email or whatever, and I'll put you down and send you some details once we get it full up. So we still got a few more spots. If you want to join in and you're available from 8:05 till about 8:25 next Thursday, let me know. All right. Okay, let's continue our Packers chat here for just a little bit more. Talking with Joe here this morning as we're a little over a week away from the NFL draft. Joe, you posted a picture up on Twitter about the wide receiver from Ohio State. He's been obviously a wide receiver that has been high up in a lot of the mock drafts out there. My question to you, though, as you post everybody else, is would you pick him at 15? Would you be comfortable picking him at 15, knowing his hamstring injury history while he's been in college?
Absolutely. I think he's the real deal. And you look at Chris Olave coming out last year, and I thought Olave was probably the most pro-ready wide receiver. And I think that Smith-Njigba is the same. And again, when you look at the fit, and this isn't a guy who is 6'3". He's only 6'1". This isn't a guy who runs a 4'3". He's a 4'5" guy. But all he does, and I'm going to go back to another Ohio State wide receiver, and I'm going to switch it up a little bit. All he does is catch passes. And that goes back to, obviously, Chris Carter with all he does is catch touchdowns. And so you look at his ability to play out of the slot. And, yes, he had the soft tissue injury last year. Really, his 2021 campaign is the campaign you got to look at. And the best way to look at what you can do for Jordan Love is if you've got a guy, and again, a lot of comparisons have been made also to Jarvis Landry as far as with Smith-Njigba. And so if you've got a guy that on 3rd and 4 is going to get 5 yards, and on 3rd and 7 is going to get 8 yards, and I think when you look at his skill set and how he compares favorably with Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs, I would absolutely take him at 15. And it's interesting, Captain, because when you look at where players are projected to go, the highest percentage that Smith-Njigba is projected to go is actually number 14. So it's in the neighborhood, and I would have zero problem with it. And again, don't look at the 4-5. I mean, Devontae Adams was a 4-5 guy. And Greg Jennings, around that same area. And so, even Jordy Nelson, much bigger receiver, 4-5 guy. But these are guys that know how to play the position of wide receiver. And so I would absolutely have zero problem taking him at 15.
I'll play a little devil's advocate here. What would you say to the Packers fans who are like, not hamstring injury, we've done with that or dealt with that too many times. 15's too high. I know Peter King had mentioned in his column, he said, I'm not the only one wondering how is he the top rated receiver on so many boards with 10 days to go. What would you say to those people?
Look at his tape. I think I'm going to go back to draft day on this. And when Devontae Mack, told Sonny Weaver to watch the tape, and so I go back to again, and look, he's not the explosive freak athlete. He's not, but he's a guy, like I said, that if you need 5 yards, he'll give you 6. If you need 10, he'll give you 11. And he's just going to be one of those guys that's going to be really smart from a zone standpoint. It really is an art settling into a zone. Too many guys drift too much, and too many guys don't find that open area. And so when you look at what he can bring to the table, and again, his athletic attributes aren't going to wow you, but his play on the field is. And so I'm going to go Devontae Mack, and I'm going to tell Sonny Weaver, and I'm going to tell Brian Gutekunst, watch the tape. And watch the tape of this kid, and I think he's the real deal. Now, here's the thing, Captain, because I will also say this: I am in love with Michael Mayer, the tight end from Notre Dame, and so if Green Bay goes that direction, I wouldn't have an issue. And again, I look at it, and if you go wide receiver, if you go offensive tackle, if you go edge rusher, if you go tight end, you can't go wrong with that 15th pick. And again, I look at the school, and it's kind of like, I'm putting together my mock because I used to, back in the day, put together tons of mocks. I only do one now, and I'll be getting it out next week. It's kind of like when you look at the wide receivers of Ohio State, it's kind of like tight ends at Iowa. And I really like the kid Sam Laporta from Iowa in the second round. And so again, I just think that there are certain schools that in Wisconsin, offensive linemen. And so, again, I think there's certain schools where you can go to and say, you know what, they're coached up right, they're pro ready, and they can make that very, very quick step into the NFL.
You got Branch, you got Jackson here, and then you've got Michael Mayer available at 15. Which one would you go with if those three are still on the table?
I love Branch, and I love all three of those players, and so. I look at Branch, and I wouldn't have an issue, and I'll just say this. I wouldn't have an issue with any three of them. I think I'd probably go with Smith-Njigba if all three are available. Now, again, one thing just to kind of as of note here, when you really look at this draft, it would not surprise me at all if Green Bay decides to trade back and get additional picks in that, under 50, under 60, under 70, right around that area. Those, if they could get themselves an additional second round, and again, a lot of it depends too on, does this Aaron Rodgers trade get done before the draft? But it wouldn't surprise me if you trade back a little bit, because I think then Mayer's going to be there, Branch is going to be there. Packers had Dalton Kincaid in for a visit. Dalton Kincaid to be there, so. Wouldn't surprise me at all if Green Bay decides to trade back in this draft where the meat of the draft is. And it's really, I would say, from about 15 to 50, you're going to get a similar player. And look, most of those guys, there's a flaw, there's a hiccup in the game, there's something there. And so I wouldn't have an issue at all if Goody decides to trade back and make that move. And it's interesting, Captain, because I've been looking at some of the draft history here, and I remember back in the day when Ron Wolf traded back and got Jordy Nelson, and that was he was I'm sorry, that probably was Ted Thompson at that point. So you trade back and you get a Jordy Nelson, and it was meant to booze, and so you never know what's going to happen. And again, you can't look at a draft right after the draft, but wouldn't surprise me at all if Goody decides I'm going to trade back and get a little bit more in that meat of the draft.
Joe DeGuano joining us here this morning as the NFL draft kicks off next week here. At what point, at what round-ish are you looking at maybe Green Bay picking up a quarterback? And do you have any names off the top of your head, Stetson Bennett or anybody like that?
You know what? I'm looking probably 4th or 5th round at that, and so that's kind of that area where I see that in a kid that I really like. and I think is probably a kid that you can slot into that area. I really like Sean Clifford, the quarterback out of Penn State. And again, not the biggest arm, not the best athlete. He doesn't make the wow throws as far as that goes. But I could see a guy like Sean Clifford, who was just very successful at his career at Penn State. I could see him falling to Green Bay in that fifth round, maybe even sixth round at that point. The earliest I would draft a quarterback, the earliest would be fourth round, but even that's pushing it for me. And again, Packer fans, remember, you know, when the Aaron Rodgers pick was made, the Packers doubled down and took Brian Brom out of Louisville, and so I don't have any problem. And I think if you're doing a Packer mock draft and you don't have a quarterback in there, I think you're doing the mock draft wrong for the Green Bay Packers. But that's a kid that I really like, the kid from Penn State that I could see as a Green Bay Packer.
The defensive position that you think needs a little bit more depth that could be accomplished in the upcoming draft, safety or defensive line?
Safety, no question. Look, you drafted Devontae Wyatt last year, and he did not play a lot. And obviously, you lost Jaron Reed on that defensive rotation, but you got T.J. Slayton, you got Devontae Wyatt. I think that safety position is still a big question mark for this Green Bay team, and you know, even though it sounds like the scouting department thinks that Rasul Douglas can slide back and play that safety, it sounds like the coaches aren't necessarily sold on that. And so Rasul Douglas going to be that outside cornerback. Looking at the safety position, yes, you have Rudy Ford back there. Yes, you have Darnell Savage Jr., but I think you need depth at that safety position. Now, it's interesting, Captain. It still wouldn't surprise me at all. Adrian Amos still available if Green Bay goes out and re-signs him to a low veteran deal, because even though Amos did not have a great season last year, you look at his previous 3 seasons with Green Bay, I thought he was one of the most reliable Green Bay defenders out there. And so wouldn't surprise me at all if you see Amos back in Green Bay. When you compare the safety position to defensive line, I would say definitely that safety position needs the most help in this draft.
Not on the Buda Baker bandwagon right now. Packers making a trade for him. I mean, his position coach is in Green Bay right now. Probably costs a whole lot since he wants to be like the highest paid safety right now. But you know.
Yeah, no, I would love Buda Baker, and so I'd be all over that move. And you said the key phrase in that statement though is, you know, he wants to get paid, and Green Bay right now, the facts of the matter is that they just don't have the flexibility to make that kind of financial commitment. So if they could pull it off and get it to work in the salary cap, I'd be all about it. I mean, that would solve a big problem for this Green Bay team, and I would love what he brings to the table in the secondary. I just don't think Green Bay can play right now where they are with the cap and where they are financially. They can't play with that big contract because, look, you know, you've got Bakhtiari, you restructured him. You've got Jair Alexander. You've got Kenny Clark. You've got Aaron Jones. These guys are costing them a lot of money. And again, you know, Green Bay loses $9-ish million worth of cap room once Aaron Rodgers is traded. And I would love the Baker trade. I would 100% love it. But if he's looking for that big payday upon that trade, it's just not going to happen with Green Bay.
I guess, you know, in terms of importance, running back position, when I'm looking at this draft, and I feel like Green Bay's, you know, gonna draft a running back, maybe a couple of them here, but I mean, you've got A.J. Dillon coming up on his last year. Who knows about Aaron Jones? I mean, they could get out of that contract after a year. We'll see if they actually do that at some point. I mean, Green Bay, you know, they drafted A.J. Dillon in the second round when they already had Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams on the roster. Are we kind of, do you think, or I shouldn't say we, but do you think a lot of people are kind of maybe overlooking the fact that Green Bay could maybe get a running back in round 3, 4, or 5 at this point?
Yeah, I think it's a necessity. I think it's absolutely a necessity. And you know, once again, looking at what round you make that move, you know, I would be looking kind of in that fourth round-ish, looking at picking up a running back, and a running back who I really like, who I think fits what Green Bay could be looking for, is Lou Nichols III. He's a Central Michigan kid, and the thing I like about him when you look at film is what he brings to the table in the pass game. And when I'm talking about pass game, not just being able to catch the ball out of the backfield, but also in pass pro, because the fact that Green Bay wants their running backs to be able to read that pass pro and to be that guy that picks up the extra man coming in. And so, no question, I think Green Bay needs to look at that position. Again, the running back position, wear and tear, and when is it going to happen? When's the tread going to come off the tire, so to speak? You just don't know with that running back position. So, yeah, I think Green Bay does make a move there. I think it's just going to be one of those staples. I think Goody gets back to the Ron Wolf days with drafting the quarterback every year. And I think with this offense and with where they are with Jordan Love, I think you're going to have to continually replenish that running back position. I will say this though, tons of respect, and Captain, you were obviously there close and up front with these guys, but Aaron Jones, in my opinion, it's amazing to me how this guy, quote unquote, carries the G. And it's exciting to look at, what he does and what he is capable of, and just the way he carries himself. It's just so impressive. And so it's a lot of fun seeing Aaron Jones. And I imagine it was just so cool last week when he was in town.
Yeah, for a lot of people too. I'm sure that was their first time. Yeah, he's definitely. I think last year too, it really opened up the eyes for a lot of people when was it mini camp and all that sort of stuff, and when veterans were excused, and yet he was still there working out with everybody. I mean, that was the Aaron that was showing the leadership, in my opinion, last year. Just say it. So
yeah, no doubt. And you know what? I'm not going to make a huge deal about this, but it was certainly impressive. Coming in voluntary off-season workouts, that QB1, RB1, and wide receiver 1 are all there, and I think that was a real impressive showing where this leadership is going to come on this football team. And so yeah, I just personally, I would love Aaron Jones to be a Packer for life. I just think this guy is one of the guys that carries the G so well and is a leader out there. But again, going back to your point, I just think you have to look at always drafting a running back, especially probably every 2 or 3 years, because you just don't know when the wheels are going to fall off.
Not to get too far in the weeds here, and I know we got to get going here, but I was thinking about this the other day, or I should say yesterday, seeing some of the photos and the videos and all the guys showing up for off-season workout day one. And I know a lot of the experts out there are saying, well, Green Bay's not going to be any good this year or whatever because they're losing Aaron Rodgers and whatever have you. But there's a part of me, though, too, that just kind of like, but is there possibilities? I feel like there's a good chance that maybe that locker room gets a little bit closer, a little bit more looser. I think guys know they have to step it up because they don't have Aaron filling in, the void or filling in the mistakes or anything like that. I mean, sometimes subtraction by loss could be a good thing, can't it be?
Oh, no doubt. And look, it wouldn't surprise me at all. Aaron Rodgers' first year in Green Bay goes 6-10. But when you really look at that season, they were in most of the games, and then the next year, they come around and make it to the playoffs. And so, don't be surprised at all if this Green Bay team wins, 7-ish games, 6-7 games. But you see the signs of building. And again, I think that's another reason why you look at and you say, do you trade back and get some more depth and get some more talent? But there are some nice pieces on this football team. I will say this: the one area where I think Aaron Rodgers had a big benefit over Jordan Love is if you looked at that wide receiver room that Aaron Rodgers got, it was much more polished and much more experienced than what Jordan Love's going to get, unless Green Bay makes a move to bring a veteran in that locker room. But yeah, I think when you've got a changeover like this, and when you look at it, yeah, you're absolutely right, because for years, Green Bay, honestly, Mike McCarthy, and to a lesser extent Matt LaFleur, basically said, hey, 12, bail us out and help us out and get us through this. And you just can't do that anymore. And so, yeah, I agree. Other guys step up, locker room comes together. If you see those positive signs this year, and again, positive signs, they can be 7-10 or 6-11 and still have a positive season. If you see those positive things to build on, then yeah, that locker room can come together nicely.
All right, Joe. I appreciate the time. I know we kept you a little long, but enjoy the rest of the week, and we'll get that mock from you next week, sir.
All right, brother. Take care, man.
You got it. There you go. There's Joe DeGuano joining us here this morning for a little bit. Hey, we got to take a quick break, and then we'll finish it up. I got my quick grind my gears. If you want to do a little grind my gears, text those babies on over to us, 715-830-1912. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. What are you doing with your tax return this year? Well, maybe you need to upgrade some of that flooring in your home. Head to Wisconsin's premier flooring store, Carpet City Flooring Center, right here in Eau Claire. Check out all their amazing styles and options to choose from. Hey, my grandma's even getting some new floor from them today. So how about that? My grandma uses them. You can use them too. You know you can trust them. So you're looking for that new floor. Maybe you want to invest in a new floor with your tax return. Head on over to our good friends from Carpet City Flooring Center here in Eau Claire. All right, I only got about a what do we got? Minute here, less than a minute. So really quick, grind my gears. All right, G-Man, I'm stealing yours, man, because this weather has just really been irritating me. I'm supposed to be out on Friday doing some turkey. I'm still going to do some turkey hunting, but going to have to change up the game plan here a little bit. Was planning on actually going to go golfing tomorrow too. Well, we'll see. I know it's better here than what Central Wisconsin, the homeland, got. What, Stanley got 23 inches, and we got a couple. So I'm not complaining for what we got here, but I'm complaining more for what Central Wisconsin got, because that's where I was gonna be doing the turkey hunting. My trail cam pictures just in the 24 hours, nothing to like snow covering it. It's that deep over there. So yeah, grind my gears, Mother Nature. Right now, you're on my list. You are on my list. So, all right, rest of you got anything else that you want to grind my gears with? Text on over, get it off your chest, and send those babies on over. We're going to talk some hockey. If you haven't gotten your Stanley Cup picks in yet, do so right now. We're going to catch up with Coach Casey from the Chip with Steel. Their playoffs start at the end of this week as well. So we'll preview that with him coming up here in just a few minutes. And we'll ask him who he's got for his Stanley Cup picks too. Then right after that, RJ Cardinal, Badger analyst from the Zone in Madison. More spring ball, more recruits coming in, some even leaving. We'll catch up on all that with him at the bottom of the hour. 2 in, 1 to go. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. All right, final hour kicking off on this Tuesday morning of April 18th. Appreciate you all tuning in, however, wherever you may be tuning in from. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, we'll catch up with our good buddy, Mr. RJ Cardinal from the Zone in Madison. Obviously, talk some Badgers with him, Badger spring ball going on. Maybe talk a little bit more of the prospects, football prospects before the draft next week and such. Still taking your grind my gears press pass Tuesday. If you could ask one question to any sports person in the world, who would that be? And get a truthful answer, you can send those on over. We'll get to your picks or your questions so far a little bit later on. Playoff week, though, for the Chip with Steel, Coach Casey joining us here this morning. How you doing, bud?
Good.
Is it,
How are you?
Kind of feel different this week as opposed to last week a little bit? Has it hit you a little bit that you got some playoffs coming, or what's it? What's the feeling like with the team?
I don't know. We had a good day of practice yesterday. Felt a little more focused, and yeah, I think once we get later in the week, it'll start to sink in a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kind of before we get to because you do play the Wendigo, so you won't be having a matchup or a rematch with the Wilderness.
Yeah.
This past weekend, but before we kind of get into that, kind of wanted to recap over the weekend because you handed out some team awards over the week. Where were you guys at, by the way? It was a nice. You dress up nice when you have to. Just saying.
Yeah, that was over at the View.
Oh, okay.
In Chippewa there.
Yep.
So yeah,
Nice.
Upstairs they got a really nice multi-purpose room, and yeah, it was good. We had probably 75, 80 people there at the banquet, so it was fun.
So you've handed out some MVPs and rookies of the year. I was kind of curious if we could get your thoughts on. I'm sure you talked about these players at the banquet and such, but Sam Rice was your offensive MVP.
Yeah, we actually had two offensive MVPs with
and Cade, right?
Rice and Nielsen. Yeah, I mean those guys have just unbelievably consistent all year for us offensively, and really carried the load at times when we were struggling to maybe get some other scoring, but we're not where we are without those guys. And then obviously Adam, defensive MVP, obviously had a outstanding year, playing in, two different leagues, the World Juniors, getting his college commitment done. So,
for anybody who doesn't know, where is he going to college?
He'll be going to Minnesota Duluth.
There you go.
Yeah. Yep, and then Peyton Platter as rookie of the year. That was a tough one. Rookie of the year and most improved. Both a lot of candidates and a lot of worthy guys for those awards. Most improved Noah Grolnick. So those guys, well deserved. They've had really great first years and just continued to get better and find a way to contribute. And then teammate of the year, Joey Peters. It's we have a really great group. Could have went to a bunch of different guys.
Was that a pretty hard one to kind of?
Yeah, it's funny. I said it. It's like it was kind of hard, but it was also kind of easy in the same way. He's like that outstanding of a kid and teammate. So it could have gone to a bunch of different guys, but it felt like he was really the only choice. So yeah, it was great to recognize those guys for their accomplishments all year long and celebrate the the great year the organization had, and meanwhile not have it be the end of the season, right? I mean, it's kind of cool for us to be able to do that and recognize people for their regular season accomplishments and now turn the page.
Exactly. Going back to last week real quick, because you did get a lot of playing time in for some of the rookies and some of the younger kids this past week. And I think when we talked last week, that was kind of by design too, getting some rest for your starters and your regulars out there. But what'd you take away from last weekend's games against the Wilderness? What was the big thing?
Yeah, I mean, I thought there were two hard fought games. Obviously not our, giving some guys some rest that have played a lot of hockey for us all year. And I felt like we still kind of pushed those guys a little bit. So, it was good. It was really good to see some younger guys take over some of those bigger roles, killing penalties and playing on the power play and stuff like that, and just getting them some more confidence. Got some a couple guys scoring some goals for us, Aiden Willis and Sheets, those high school guys who joined us. And yeah, it's just again, we talked about it. I feel like we're going to have to probably play both of those guys at some point.
Mhm.
To me, having one weekend of kind of, non-consequential games that, it didn't really matter what happened, to give some guys some rest and to be honest, more importantly, like, avoid any, injuries,
Right.
further injuries, to me outweighed any other outcome of the weekend.
Mhm. And then the most important question to kind of wrap it up before we go into previewing this game. What did Coach do for his birthday?
Well, we were at the banquet, and then me and Doc and Phil, we went to the brewing project and
Nice. Yep.
had a couple of sour beers over there. That was pretty
Nice.
much it. Just laid low, and playoff hockey started last night for the NHL, so it was up, relatively late watching. That'll be a common occurrence here, but
I was going to ask, do you have a prediction for the Stanley Cup? People wanna
we
know.
did a bracket. I
Did
did
you?
one
Okay.
quickly. I had Edmonton over Boston.
Okay.
So
Yeah. I think I had Boston versus Edmonton, but Boston winning it.
yeah, I just feel, I don't know. Obviously they lost last night in overtime, but I don't know. I feel like Connor McDavid is just possessed human being.
So all right, the rest of you, I know it's kind of been all over the place with some of these picks. I think a lot of people are picking Boston, but then there's some people like, how many times has that kind of worked out though? Regular season
Right.
guy or regular season
Yeah.
team, doesn't really work out in the postseason, so people are kind of scared that way.
Yeah. I don't know if you can. I don't know. I feel like history, it's meant to be broken, and it's it's just, are they the best team or not? I mean, they're a pretty impressive group. They've got some guys who have been there before. They're deep everywhere. Got two good goalies. I mean, hard to see them not getting there, but that's why they play them, right?
Yep. And it was a great game last night with the Wild in double overtime against the Dallas Stars too.
That's a big boy series right there.
Yep.
I mean, you better not be afraid of contact if you want to play in that series. So it's
and I think there's some old North Star fans too that's a little bit riled up for that series too.
And obviously the Ryan Suter thing, I think, is underlying.
Yep. So, all right. So let's talk about your own playoff hockey here. The Wendigo, new team this year. I guess new location. Is that the best way to kind of describe them?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. I mean, they transferred a roster from the Magicians, so I mean, they're new location would be a good way to go about it.
Yeah.
New staff, but yeah, I mean, a lot of players held over.
And you got a lot of. I mean, you played them quite a bit this year. They've been close games, high scoring games in some of these here too. So, how much do you take away from your regular season when you're? I mean, obviously you're probably watching a lot of film and scouting and that, but how much do you actually take away from your regular season matchups now that you're in the postseason? Because last week we were talking, it's a brand new season, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's 0-0, but do you still kind of look back at what you guys did or what they did against you in the regular season?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, everybody's at this level is playing a pretty consistent style of hockey, and I think there are things that we can certainly take away from those matchups that we had in previously, and yeah, we just have to be prepared and be ready to play our game. Obviously, we had more success against them here than there, so that's been a focus of ours, is kind of figuring out maybe a couple things on in Eagle River. Because obviously, being the lower seed or the 4 seed, we're going to have to win a game in that building to move on. So, some things that we talked about yesterday as a group to kind of focus on and turn our attention to, but for the most part, it's there are a little bit more we want to, because we're going to play them, potentially 5 in a row. We're going to focus on them a little bit, but again, it's really just focusing on being the best team that we can be.
So looking, kind of looking at this matchup, do you, and I mean, this might be a little, I don't know if this is the right way to ask this, but do you kind of look at it like your goal is to try to steal one over there and then bring this, extend the series and kind of steal? Because you hear, like, for example, the Bucks in the NBA lost Sunday. Miami now has home court advantage, stealing home court advantage.
Yeah.
Is that something that you guys talk about, is stealing home ice advantage in that, just trying to take one over there?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the goal is to go there and win both games, right? I mean,
Mhm.
like we're trying to win every game that we play. So,
Right.
that's not something that I think we'll talk about as a group collectively. Like, hey, we want to win. We're going to go there and try and win both games. That's the plan. We try to, like I said, try to win every game you play. But, I think for us as a staff and as coaches, like, hey, that's the ultimate goal is to get out of there with a split at worst and bring it home and then try and end it there, right? I mean, that's
Mhm.
what it's going to have to be. But I don't think as a team, that's going to be a collective, strategy or mantra for us. It's more, can we go there and play, 6 really good periods.
Mhm. So the last time you played them was end of March, so not that long ago.
Mhm.
It'd be about a month by the time you guys play them, coming up
Yeah.
there this past weekend. So, I mean, really, how much has changed between you guys? Has anything really changed?
In that stretch, probably not. I think they
Mhm.
were missing one of their better players was out with injury. So were we. We've been a little bit banged up, but feel like we're getting healthier now, which is great. But yeah, I mean the team, the personnel aspect of it is pretty, pretty set at this point in the season, right? So
Mhm.
not a lot of moves to be made. So we know who their guys are. We know who we're gonna have to worry about and focus on. And yeah, again, it's just finding a way to have a little bit more success, in that building.
Mhm. And I mean, I'm looking at it, too. I mean, between you, you guys and the Wendigo. I mean, top four really similar in a lot of areas, but especially like you, Wendigo and the Wilderness, point differential. I
Yeah.
think you guys are the only three teams that have a positive one
Yeah.
at this point. I mean, so I mean, it's it's almost hard just from an outsider to look at this and be like, you could kind of see this series going either way, just from an outsider looking at it at it from this advantage point. So, when you prepare for them, what do you think are the top goals, or what do you think are the things that you have to try to do in order to win this series against the Wendigo? Like what are some of your main priorities or keys to victory, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I think for us it's gonna be, making life hard for their goaltender. Yeah, Moffat, he's had a really good year. Um so I think it's it's nice that the NHL playoffs get to start last night and you get to see the intensity and the next level of play that takes place, in that first game of the series last night. Um, so for me, it's just everybody pulling on the rope, same direction. Are you willing to, sacrifice your body for, keeping pucks out of our net? I mean, that's the one key. And then I think offensively, it's, can we be okay with scoring some dirty goals? It's not going to be um, fancy passing it around, tic tac toe, backdoor. It's just,
Mhm.
it's hard to score. It's hard to score in this league in general, and it's harder even more so in the playoffs. So, we've been talking about playing a certain way all year, and obviously, we want to encourage these guys to make plays, but sometimes the play is to just get a puck on the net and go there and bang in a rebound. So, I think it's just really being fully connected, everybody, of what we're trying to do. And again, the sacrifice for your teammates. That's what it's going to take from
Mhm.
everybody.
Because I was looking at your last four games. I mean, they were decided by a goal or two. I mean, they
Yeah,
they're
with
two.
those guys.
Yeah, with those guys. Was it a 2-1 loss in February? But then, that was the comeback and shootout loss at the end of March. Then you come back and beat them 5-2,
Right.
in
Yeah.
your last two games there. So I mean, this just from a fan standpoint is setting up to be a really entertaining series between you guys. Taking away standings and stats and numbers and all that. When you just look at how you guys have matched up these last, four times and change, this looks to be a really close and an exciting series at this point.
We're hoping so, I mean, and hopefully in our favor. I think, for my money, we have one of the best players in the league in Adam, and it's a good position to have it at. And like I said, it's I like our line combinations that we kind of have going now, our D pairs. So yeah, it feels like we're kind of trending in the right direction when it matters. And hopefully we can stay focused and, like I said, stay connected. And I think the nicest thing for us is having that recent success against those guys,
Right.
and the goalie, obviously. The one thing for us as of late has been, kind of getting behind. It would be really great for us to find a way to score first and early and maybe often, and have a team kind of have to chase us for a little bit. So that'll be something that we'll talk about, for the rest of the week, and just being prepared. And it'll be nice. We'll get to go up there Thursday night and get settled in, and skate Friday morning and be ready to go.
So, is the nerves started to kick in a little bit? Do you think you're going to be a little butterflies? I mean, are you anticipating that from your team, as once you get maybe game day and that environment sort of thing? I mean, have you kind of thought about what your maybe pregame speech is going to be, or your talk, or anything like that?
No, I mean, that's more of a morning of, day of kind of, I'm sure once, the game is getting ready to start and it's warm ups, and now, getting ready to go for the anthem, there'll be, a little bit, but I expect some of our guys to have some butterflies as well. It's common. And, the one thing that's nice is I kind of feel that they'll be the same way. There's not a lot of playoff experience on either team. I mean, both teams missed the playoffs this year. Both teams have a lot of first year guys. So it's not like one team is riddled with playoff experience and the other isn't. So, for my money, the pressure's on them being the 1 seed and having the great regular season. And, I think we went about our season a little bit differently with the young group, and really focused on, the development of the players and making sure everybody got their games in during, most of the season. And, then, like I've always said, depending on where you're at in the standings, those last 20 games, I mean, the focus really shifts from development and getting guys minutes to, hey, we're putting on the best lineup to win a game every night. And that's kind of where we've been. And it feels like it's been working. And like I said, getting us in a positive trajectory when we need to be. So it'll be good. I think we've got some good leadership, and we got a couple of guys that like to keep it loose, which maybe sometimes a little bit too loose for my liking. But
is this kind of where you how much do you give your team leaders or some of your captains, like maybe a little bit more responsibility? I mean, this is a big time, first time in franchise history going to the postseason. I mean, what's kind of been like their mindsets?
Yeah, it's funny because they're still just young. They're still young kids, right? And we've tried at different times this year to be a little bit hands off and let them kind of take the reins a little bit. And sometimes it gets, like I said, it gets a little loose or a little squirrely, and we got to come back in and maybe press down a little bit harder on some things that we're trying to do. But it feels like everybody has kind of been waiting for this, and again, it's a long season, and it's a grind. And maybe, as I continue to learn, like, some of that looseness during the season is a little bit okay, right? I mean, you got to be in a good position, standings wise, but because it can't always be screws tight to the max, right? It's just it's too hard, and it's too much pressure, and it takes a lot of the fun out of it. But again, we talked about it, it's 5 more weeks, there's really shouldn't be anything taking your focus away from being prepared to be at your best when the games start.
Mm-hmm. All right. So before I let you go, envision yourself, the night before. You gonna get any sleep?
I think so.
You think so?
Yeah, I
You seem
do.
like a calm,
I
cool,
think
collective
so.
guy.
I mean,
Yeah. How do you?
we'll see.
How can you do that? I can't do that. So I mean, I'd be up and like, I wish I had kind of your mindsets and all that. But
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes
any
for me
good
being
documentaries or books you're reading leading up to it? I know you're a big.
no,
You know.
I haven't been on to anything new
Mhm.
lately. It'll be a lot of NHL playoff hockey moving forward.
Yep.
For me, I just feel like the way we practice and the way we prepare and the way we kind of try to get these guys ready to go out there and perform, like that to me is the part that takes away some of the nerves, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it's once we get to Friday, I kind of joke about this, but like our jobs are kind of done, you know what I mean? And in hockey, it's not football. We're not calling plays all, we have some face-off plays and we put the guys on the ice, yeah, but they're the ones that are out there playing and making reads and figuring things out. We're trying to help them through that at that point, but by the time it gets to game day, it's like we'd say that's the test. We prepare you all week for your test, and now you got to go out there and execute. So I've really liked how our team has prepared and practiced this year, and again, I think um, we do a lot of repetition in practice that I think prepares these guys for, the most common occurrences that they're going to see in games. So they're not even having to think about some of this stuff because it's just been drilled into them
Right.
so much. Yeah, but we'll see. It's Tuesday. Talk to me on Thursday. Maybe I'll feel a little differently. But no, I just think it's really exciting. It's a goal that we had obviously come a long way, and the 2 years since I've been here, and we talked about with 12 Division One or 11 Division One commits on our team, 1 Division 3 commitment, 5 brand new this year in the arguably the hardest few years to be a junior hockey player trying to get to college with that 5th year
Right.
opportunity. And then the one for me that at the banquet it kind of caught me off guard, that it really kind of choked me up a little bit, was we have 20 guys here that started the season with us in training camp, out of 25. So
Continuity.
yeah,
Right
I
there,
mean,
yeah.
it's a huge part of, I think,
Mhm.
why we are where we are. We have a really close-knit, tight group. Um, I think that's kind of been lost a little bit at this level in this league, and
Mhm.
we're as a staff, we're proud of that. We feel like we do a good job identifying players and tendering players, and that kind of reaffirms that, right? That we started with, I don't know, 30 guys at training camp, and we've whittled down. And, we made a few moves like every team will. And,
Mhm.
but 20 out of 26, I would say, because we have one guy, Joey Sylvester, on, who's on the season ending. But, that's a large portion of your team that you've been talking the same message to,
Right.
for the last 8 months, and that to me is why I feel a lot of the reason why we're in the position that we're in right now.
Well said. Well said. So why don't you just go win your 2 games and then clinch at home next week? Okay.
All right, that
Go do
works.
that.
We'll go
Friday night and
yeah.
Saturday.
Friday, Saturday,
Yep.
and then the following Sunday is
Mhm.
potentially game 5 if necessary.
All right. Well, best of luck, coach, and
Awesome, thank you.
go get some W's, and then
Appreciate it.
we'll catch up next week.
Sounds good.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then RJ Cardinal coming up in just a couple minutes. We'll talk some Badger football with him after these few words. Are you a weekend warrior, maybe getting ready for some softball, volleyball tournaments, or whatever you got planned for this summer on the weekends? But maybe you got some aches and pains you're still dealing with. Make an appointment with our good friends from Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, Dr. Crow over there. All you got to do is head to their website, cvosm.com. That's cvosm.com to schedule your appointment and start living that pain-free life and enjoy your summer this year with the help from Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. All right, let's talk some Badgers here with our dude, Mr. RJ Cardinal. RJ, you kind of you brought this up a couple weeks ago. And, well, it's been announced that Julius Davis is going to be entering the transfer portal. So I know you had mentioned it a couple weeks ago. It looked like, even though with the new coaching regime, he was still kind of towards the bottom of the depth chart there. But now he's going to be looking for a new team. So I guess no big surprise there, right?
Yeah, it sure doesn't seem that way. It's one of those, one way or another. It just didn't work out for him here at Wisconsin, and it's through nobody's fault. Whether, it's just one of those. It happens almost every year with somebody, and when it's an in-state kid, it tends to kind of be a little more amplified, especially when he was looking at schools. I mean, even LSU coming off their championship and all that. We're looking at him. So a good portion of the country was on board to get his services. And one way or another, Braylon Allen happens, Chez Malusi happens, Isaac Garendo happens, and you're fourth, and then you start not even getting snaps in garbage time. That goes to other guys who are walk-ons. So, yeah, it's at some point I can see where you're getting frustrated, and even this spring, guys are getting carries over him. So, I mean, if you have, and he's got 2 years of eligibility left, and if he wants playing time, it seems the writing was on the wall for him to hit the transfer portal.
Yeah, sticking with the football program, RJ. The Luke Fickle bat signal has been pretty active as of late on the Twitter sphere out there with some verbal commits and some commits coming to the 2024 class. I know they just got another one from a wide receiver. Was it down in by Chicago? Where was it, I believe? Or
yeah, Cayenne
Barry Johnson?
Yes, thank you. I was trying to think of the middle one. I was like, it's Cayenne Johnson, but it's a hyphenated name. And looks like he's projected to be a kind of slot receiver kind of guy. Wisconsin has had some decent success with their slot receivers over the years, so it'll be interesting to see how the slot works into this new offense. Where, I mean, I think most people are thinking their thoughts of an air raid is more of a deep ball kind of threat guy. But I mean, you look at some of those teams that Leach had at Texas Tech, and I mean, he wasn't dealing with huge athletic receivers. A lot of them were like the Wes Welkers of the world and things like that. So it's one of those offenses that can fit a lot of different play styles. And I mean, even over at North Carolina, you had tight ends that were used very differently than a lot of other programs. So it looks to be a good fit. He looks pretty fast. And that seems to be what this offense is moving towards. Creating mismatches and taking the talent you have, not necessarily the best talent in the country, but maximizing the talent you have and getting them in a lot of one-on-one situations. So, it appears to be a good addition to the offense. He is also pretty good friends with a 4-star wide receiver and a 4-star running back from the Chicagoland area. The running back just took a visit to Wisconsin as well, I think, and liked what he saw. Dupree, I think his name was. And it'll be interesting to see how your best friend, or one of your really good friends, accepting an offer to Wisconsin helps maybe sway that decision.
And it seems like Luke Fickell and his staff have kind of really, focused or targeted the Chicago area with some of their recruits. I was kind of looking at it last night, and they've gotten, not only with the 2024 class, but the 2023 class too. So that seems like a kind of an area of focus so far for this Badger football staff.
Yeah, I think their initial circle is like 300 miles around Madison. I think that's what they said. And then they kind of extended it because that left out some of Wisconsin. So they moved it up. And really, their main recruiting area is going to be the state of Wisconsin, the Chicagoland area, and moving on over into Detroit and Ohio is going to be their main source of recruiting. But, who's to say to find what you need for filling positions, skilled positions, you won't go elsewhere. And we even saw Alvarez do that when he got the meat and potatoes for the offense and defense out of Wisconsin, and a lot of the skilled positions were coming from other states. So that's nothing new, but to have your really defined wall for the state and then include Chicago in that, Wisconsin has had some pretty good luck with players out of the Chicagoland area, especially in the 70s when they were pulling guys like Billy Merrick, Dennis Lick, and a few other guys who moved on to the NFL during a time when the Badgers didn't even really have good teams, but they were still getting very good talent out of that Chicagoland area. So it's kind of nice to see them dip back in there and hopefully bring in some guys who will be able to have, I guess, better team success than those 70s and early 80s teams until Dave McClain got there and started really winning before his untimely passing. And he was a big Chicagoland area recruiter too. So it's good to see Wisconsin get back into the fold in Chicago.
Yeah, no doubt. I know last week we kind of talked a little bit about, some of the, some of the draft prospects coming up here for the Badgers. I know we talked about Keanu Benton last week. I want to ask your thoughts on Joe Tippmann here. Do you think is it between him or Keanu you think will be the first Badgers taken off the board next week at either or probably Friday at this point?
Yeah, I think we're probably going to be leaning more Keanu Benton being the first one off.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, it seems you and I have this conversation every year. Don't be surprised if somebody takes the draft-eligible Badger O-lineman higher than everybody's projected him, and then don't be upset when it becomes a steal of the draft,
Right.
It's one of those. I think Tippmann is definitely going to be a starter in the NFL. I've seen some project more of a kind of backup kind of guy, and it's still one of those. Like, watch Badger football, and you'll know these guys are very capable of what you're going to ask them to at the next level. It's just still baffles me that people talk about systems when it just comes to Wisconsin football in general. And I guess we'll probably talk about that next week with the next player you want to talk about. I really like his odds of being a second, third round draft pick as well. So probably right around Keanu Benton. It'll be interesting to see which one comes off first, but I still think it'll be Benton.
Do you think he has the ability to maybe play a little guard if he has to as well? I know, I've been looking at these next gen stats from the combine and such. I mean, he was ranked the number one center with the total score, estimated third highest athleticism score, second in production amongst all centers in that. But if it has to come to it, do you think he's a guy that can move to guard in the NFL?
I do. He did play a little bit at Wisconsin, but I think center, you'll be very lucky to have him as your center. And like you said, tested out as the number one center, top 3 in all those scores that the NFL Combine put out. But yeah, it's one of those. If you already have your center and you're just getting an interior lineman, he could absolutely slide over and be a guard for you and still be your backup center in case something happens to that number one guy. Now, if you need a new center, yeah, absolutely, you're going to pick this guy. And it's one of those. He is a versatile athlete, and it's still one of those where you're going to have the weaknesses as being being a pass blocker and all that, solely because you come from Wisconsin. I think I read one of them leads with helmet and pads. I mean, you're a center. It's not, you don't lead with your hands because your hands are under you at the time you let go of the ball. I mean, that's just a ridiculous weakness to have there. As long as you get your hands up quick and recover, that's what a good center does. And he's got good recovery. It shows. I just like him overall as a guy who is able to get to that next level as a center. And sure, you know what? Wisconsin in his time really wasn't that great at passing the ball, but they didn't have to be. But yeah, it's one of those. The weaknesses of Badger offensive linemen, I think, are guys just making up words to try to find a weakness to push them down the draft board.
Yeah, no doubt. RJ Cardinal, our Badger analyst, joining us. I want to get your thoughts on a couple of basketball players, transfer portal. But first, over the weekend, the Badger basketball team celebrating their 125th season. The program's 125th season. You had players and coaches coming together, but also to support Howard Moore. I'm sure you probably saw a lot of the stuff on. So, I mean, Dick Bennett was there. Bo Ryan was there, Stu Jackson, former players and such. But I know Howard Moore played for the Badgers, was an assistant coach, but I don't think I've seen I don't know if anybody's ever said a bad word about Howard Moore. He just seems to be universally respected. And I think, was it Michael Finley called him the mayor of Madison over the weekend too?
Yeah. Yep. He was one of those guys, much along the lines of Bo Ryan, like sit down and talk to you and talk to you. Sounds bad to say it, but on your level, he understood a lot of things. So not down to your level, but he could sit in a conversation, just sit down and jump into anything and have a knowledge of it. I've never met him, but the people I do know that have, he's one of the most genuine people they've ever met in their life. And it always seems when tragedy strikes somebody that happens, but I mean, there has not been one person who even have a story of, well, but he did this, that's just not a thing. And the amount of people who have either played with him here, coached him here, or have been coached by him here have been positively touched and been helped out by him. So it's one of those stories where, dating back to 2019 when that accident happened on the Michigan highway with a lady going the wrong way. Killed his wife and daughter. His son was really the only one who wasn't really affected at all physically. I can only imagine what he's gone through mentally since that happened. But and now and the article's coming out, and the $450,000 a year for his medical care, having an in-house helper and all that kind of stuff. It was really nice to see that kind of community come together and be able to help raise at least a little money to help with those costs. So if that's what being a teammate means, I mean, Wisconsin basketball really showed being a great team community there, and being that little kind of family unit that everybody talks about that they have. But there's probably not too many programs that'll have people come together like that and donate enough money to be able to help out in at least some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely. Sticking with the Badger team, RJ, They picked up a couple guards, bigger guards in the transfer portal too. Noah Reynolds is coming over from Wyoming, where he averaged 14.5 per game. And then they're bringing in AJ Storr, who's from coming over from St. John's, made the Big East All Freshman team. He's a 6'6" guard as well. I know, as you've kind of highlighted too, they're probably going to have to find another scholarship at this point. But I mean, I'm looking at this and I'm seeing the numbers and all that. I mean, and AJ dropped over 20 points against UConn this year, and that's the national champions there. I like these, but what are your thoughts when you saw these two kids committing to Wisconsin?
It's what people asked for.
Yeah.
And yet people were still like, well, they're leaving their programs for some reason. Geez, okay. Settle down, people. Like you can't have your cake and eat it too. Whatever idiom you want to use in your hatred for Greg Gard. He hit the transfer portal. He got two guards that will be able to help the rotation of guards, and now people say there's too many of them. Well, you know what? When you are really only playing three and using your fourth very sparingly, you need two more. So that and all of a sudden people jump right to, well, who's going to the bench? At this point, I don't care. Like
Right.
if those two will be, your sixth and seventh man and end up getting a more of a rotation. So at the end of the year, your team doesn't have tired legs. Great. Would I like to see them still go out and get maybe a forward or a center? Sure. Is it going to happen? I don't know, because I don't know this. Like you said, the scholarship situation is kind of in flux right now without knowing if anybody else is in the transfer portal here. So, you're bringing in some freshmen in Nolan Winter and the Gus Bus, and hopefully they're ready for some minutes. They'll be in that forward/center position that, Wisconsin really doesn't even call a position a center anymore. And hopefully they'll be able to be in the rotation. Get your other bigs to start working on their jump shots. And we'll see where it goes moving forward. But if they don't make another move, I think Wisconsin is okay enough to be able to be competitive next season. And there's a good point to make. If Tyler Wall and Klesmet don't get injured last year, does Wisconsin really go on that bit of a losing streak and dig themselves into a hole that they couldn't get out of? I don't know. I think we see a different ending for the Wisconsin team. But you can't blame injuries on Greg Gard. You can't blame 10-minute scoring droughts on Greg Gard. And yes, I'm in that boat, but he's the coach. Well, okay, he's not there missing the layups. That's coachable moments. Yeah, well, he probably has, but you miss layups. It happens. Well, why don't you pull him like Bo Ryan? He didn't have the depth to do that. So you know what? There's a lot of factors here. I was not in the fire Greg Gard boat. There are just too many factors that were out of his control. When we saw inbounds plays for the most part, you know what? He can draw up a good inbounds play that usually ends up in a basket. And when they didn't, we saw him start yelling at players saying, "That's not what I drew up." So I like what they've added. Will they add more? I don't know. I think it really depends on the conversations he said he's going to have, and when he has it, and when the transfer portal opens up again. I know, at least for football, it opened up on the 15th. So I don't know if that's all transfer portal now, where people from all sports can jump back in. But yeah, we'll see what happens moving forward here.
Yeah, definitely. RJ, love it as always, buddy. Appreciate the time this morning. Have a good rest of your week, bud, and let's catch up next week. Ooh.
One more thing.
Yeah.
Badgers did pick up a transfer from Minnesota State Mankato again. Their top scorer decided to transfer to Wisconsin. Grad transfer as a junior. I don't know if that means he has 2 years left or 1 year left, but picked up now 3 players. 2 of them played on the same line, the first line for Minnesota State Mankato. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out and what line they're going to end up here at Wisconsin. But another one where there are some issues with scholarships available, and we'll see what happens there.
Definitely. Good note. Good note. Dude, appreciate it, buddy. We'll catch up with you next week. Okay, sir?
All right. Sounds good. We will talk to you then.
You got it. RJ Cardinal, Badger analyst, joining us here this morning. We got to take a really quick break, and then we'll wrap things up in just a couple minutes. Sun's out right now, it looks like. I know it's going to be a little, maybe low 50s today, a little cooler the rest of the week, but that doesn't mean it's not grilling season, even though with the snow. So head on over to Mike's Star Market right here in Eau Claire. Grab yourself a couple brats. You got the Man Cave Light brats over there. You've got the dill pickle brat with the bacon and the cheese in there too. That seems to be the fan favorite over there. So load up those freezers with some brats and other items from Mike's Star Market. Get summer kicked off the right way over there. You know what I mean? So, okay. Wrapping up some things again. Went a little long on that last hour, but that's okay. Tonight, you've got Brewers taking on the Seattle Mariners, 8:40, as Mark said, and little grind my gears, all these late-night Brewers games. I'm missing out on too much sleep, but as long as we keep winning. I got one more. One more late one during the week here. But 8:40, we get Colin Ray getting his second start tonight. And then afternoon game tomorrow before an off day for the Brew Crew on Thursday. So got that. Got the Stanley Cup playoffs continuing tonight. You got the NBA playoffs as well continuing tonight. Bucks will be in action tomorrow. So we'll maybe get a closer idea. I'm assuming the Bucks will be practicing today. So maybe we'll get a better idea of where Giannis is at with his back issue and such. Probably won't know. If I had to guess, probably won't know his full-on status until tomorrow. But I guess that would kind of be my press pass question for the day. I could ask, Brunholzer, what level are you at that you think Giannis is going to play tomorrow and get a truthful answer? And, we'll kind of see. But that game is at 7 o'clock tomorrow. Let me double check here. I don't want to tell you the wrong time, but I do know you will be able to check out or listen to both games tomorrow right here on 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Since the Brewers game is going to be at 3:10, that should finish up, and then you've got the Bucks game 2 against Miami just shortly after that. Come on, load up. I should know this off the top of my head because I just looked at it this morning. It is at, 7. Right? Yeah. Eastern time. No, 8. My bad. 8 p.m. tip time. So there you go. That's where we're at. Okay, shot clock's going to cut me off tomorrow. Stock reports are due. Whose stock is rising? Whose stock is falling? Think about that. Hit us up tomorrow with that. We might get to a little sports vigilante tomorrow too. We'll see if we got enough time. We'll do another edition of Showdown as well. And of course, recapping the Brewers game and looking ahead to game 2 with the Bucks. Right now, the spread is favored for the Bucks. No big surprise, but it is at 9. Favored by 9, in case anybody's wondering. Have a good rest of your Tuesday. DP and the Danettes are up next. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. We'll chat with you then.